I'm here with Pop the Brown Hornet from Stapleton, Staten Island, the Temple. What's good with you, bro?
You already know everything is lovely, everything is great. Like you said, Pop the Brown Hornet, Stapleton, Staten Island, the Temple of Staten Island. Definitely.
Man, being one of the first hip hop artists from Staten Island, you had some early success putting songs on wax such as Woo Woo Woo. What's the difference of working a record then compared to now?
Well, it's kind of like me. I mean, when I'm dealing with individuals, I kind of like I try to like use the same format where I tell individuals, especially coming from an independent perspective or whatever the case may be, is the fact that you just keep pushing and pushing, and sometimes it takes a year or anywhere from 6 months to a year to really break a song, especially when you come in independently. So when I came out with Can You Woo 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 and Let's Go to Lap, that was independent. So with me, like I said, it's somewhat the same. It doesn't change until you get to a major label. So the grind and the hustle and the push to me is, like I said, it's the struggle, but once it catches fire, it's a beautiful feeling.
Definitely, and you talk about major label success, and in 2000 you had dropped the album, which is arguably considered a classic album, Underground Emperor. But one of the biggest criticism was the lack of promotion. And do you think having a major and stuff, everything you speak about and stuff, everything being on an independent level, how that affected as far as getting your art heard?
Well, it could have used definitely more promotions. I don't think that me and my A&Rs and everybody was really in sync with each other, whatever the case may be. So it was a little bit of tug of a war dealing with MCA when I was dealing with the Underground Emperor project or whatever the case may be. But just lyrically, especially nowadays, then when people got to digest the album, they was like, "Yo, it was a very impactful song, especially coming out of Staten Island. It was definitely a classic. It was just maybe overshadowed by the other people that was out at the time. So, being that I came out the time where they were out, it may have gotten overshadowed. So it definitely would have needed the push coming from the major label that I was on at the time, MCA. And I think that probably was the only thing that was lacking, was the fact that maybe they didn't know how to market or promote me or push me at that time. But it was definitely raw, classical, traditional hip hop.
For sure. And you grew up in Stapleton, and at the time, Staten Island wasn't really looked at as a hip hop mecca. How did that affect your approach to making music?
Well, like I said, growing up off the golden era of the classical, I grew up off the KRS's, the Big Daddy Kanes, the Slick Ricks, the Cool G Raps. I mean, the Chuck D's of the world. So with that being said, it wasn't hard for me to come out with traditional classical hip hop, and I said, really being an ambassador and a spokesman for Staten Island lifestyle, it was relatively easy. I mean, I had crafted my style growing up as a youngster out on Staten Island. I was getting really bona fide beats because at the time when I was in Stapleton, R&S, who produced for numerous of individuals, Shaheem most notably, but he produced Hey Ya Hey Ya Ho for King Just. He produced, like I said, Shaheem, GP Wu. He produced some tracks for the Wu. He produced the UMCs. So when R&S was starting out and crafting his style, I was doing the same thing at the same time. I had so many hits in the streets when I was rhyming on 8 tracks, and then from the 8 tracks we would put it on a cassette, on a tape, and on a Maxwell, whatever, and we would hit the hood with the Cunyons and everybody. I mean, we would just make copies and give it out. So I had so many hits before I even hit wax that it wasn't difficult for me to get into the studio and make an album when I got onto a major label.
Definitely. And you're still making music today. You have this song on your most recent album, I believe, Foreman Mandela, called straighten out. And you talk about the lack of originality today and mumble rap. Can you speak on that a little bit?
Well, yeah, I mean, this like I said, Foreman Mandela. I came back. I mean, prior to me doing Foreman Mandela, I did a duet with King Just, the Emperor and the King, the best of both hoods, the Emperor and the King. But to touch on the straighten it out, it was the fact that me being gone from the game, making music, I seen the turn that it made with the mumble rap, and you know, everybody they sound the same, they look the same. I mean, if I was blind and I couldn't see the TV, I would think I was just hearing the same people in the same song repetitively over and over and over again, because whether it's the same tempo, the same, it's just the right now it's different with hip hop because the sampling has kind of like left the game, and everybody's using programs, and these programs aren't really boom bap programs. They're kind of, to me, they're light. And these MCs, they're all, I mean, not all of them, but they sound chipmunkish to me. They don't sound heavy. They sound light on these beats. So when I was like, they all sound the same, it's just to me that this, if that worked for him, it's gonna work for me, and that's what we're getting. We're getting a whole bunch of the same type of formatted music. When hip hop was originated, you couldn't do that. I mean, coming out sounding like somebody else, you'll get attacked. I mean, the LL, like, you couldn't come out sounding like, MC Shan came at LL because, oh, you stole my beat. You know what I mean? MC Light came out at other, beat biter, dope style taker. It was just like that was unheard of, to where now it's more of a common way of doing music.
For sure. And being from Staten Island, obviously you have like the Wu-Tang connection. I think there's a lot of like misconceptions and everything between like GP Wu and what you are a part of and Wu-Tang. Can you talk about that?
Well, like I've been promoting, me being part of Wu Tang is like the prequel. I was part of Wu Tang. I was part of the Wu Tang. I'm part of the Wu Tang movement. I'm part of the Wu Tang era. So before Wu Tang Clan got together as a clan and came out with 36 chambers, I already had represented the Wu Tang movement and era, because the seed of Wu Tang was planted in Stapleton Projects, where I'm from. So that's why when we came out with GP Wu on MCA Records, the GP stood for Gladiator Posse / Brain Produce, and the Wu stood for Wu Tang, because that's what the projects I'm from, GP and Wu Tang, started in Stapleton. So we had the right to use the Wu Tang just as much as the clan did. And when we came out, we had our own logo. We didn't use the Wu Tang logo because we had our own logo. We had our own segment of Wu Tang, so we can never be denied. That's why in the whole existence of us doing GP Wu, that's why we would be coming out here talking about that I was down with the Wu Tang era movement before the Klan. Not a lot of them can come out and debate that, because a lot of the people that were down with Wu Tang now, back in the days, they weren't down with Wu Tang. They were down with other groups. You know what I mean? A lot of Wu Tang is from Park Hill. Wu Tang Clan is from Park Hill. And a lot of those dudes were down with a group called DMD at the time. So when the Prince Rakeem came out with Oh We Love You Rakeem, there was an A side. That was the DMD side. That stood for Park Hill. And there was a B side, which was the Wu Tang side. That stood for Stapleton. So what RZA did, he got down with the Wu Tang movement. He felt the era, he felt the vibe of the Wu Tang, and he was like, "Oh shit, you know what? I could bring Paul Hill and Stapleton together with this Wu Tang thing, and we can become one whole, and we could attack the universe." So once he made the clan, which they did invite me to be with the clan, but it was no room for me to be in the clan. They were already 10 members deep. And when I spoke to Risen, he was like, "Well, if you get down with the clan, you're only going to get 5% of your own song that you write." Like I just told you about 5 minutes ago, before anybody was on any kind of wax, I had so many hits prior with R&S. I had That Don't Make You a Man song. What Goes Up Must Come Down. Shattered Dreams. I mean, I had a song called Shit Is Real that I wound up giving to Shaheem. Shaheem had a single called Shit Is Real. I wrote that. So I had so many hits that for me to get down with a clan and then give up all my publishing and only give 5%, I found that to be ludicrous. So I kind of like turned that down. But I was always in existence with the Wu-Tang era before the Wu-Tang Clan was put together.
Why do you think like at that period though, like you never signed a major record label deal? Because like you know what I mean and stuff and everything, it seems like it would make sense and stuff and everything because you had like you know what I mean and stuff, the hot records and stuff and everything at the time. And
Say that one more time.
why was there a particular reason why you never signed a major record label deal?
Well, I did sign a major record label deal. I signed with MCA Records. I
Okay.
signed with MCA. I mean, when I first came out with Can You Woo Woo Woo, that was on the independent, that was for Dolo Records. Then I came out with Black on Black Crime, and the B-side was GP Connection, that was on Smooth Records. Then we wound up getting picked up as a group, GP Woo, that was with MCA Records, and my A&R at the time was Hank Shockley from Public Enemy.
Right.
And Yo from Stetsasonic. Those were my A&Rs on an MCA. So even after GP, my solo album, The Underground Emperor, the independent was Smoke Records, but it was distributed by MCA.
For sure. Definitely. You know, Wu-Tang, they have that new movie on Netflix, An American Saga. Have you seen that or do you have any thoughts about it?
No, I haven't seen it. I haven't seen that documentary. I honestly don't believe that there could be a Wu story without me being in it, honestly. But I have been abreast on certain kind of parts from the series, and one part of the series that I'll speak upon is when the Ghostface allegedly goes to see a producer from Stapleton, which probably is R&S, and they make a song. I heard that Method Man allegedly had made a song in a series that was dissing Stapleton. So Dennis, aka Ghostface, goes back to make a diss song about Park Hill, and they called the song No More Mr. Nice Guy. Now, the original song No More Mr. Nice Guy was with Down Low, Ghostface, and myself. So it wasn't a Ghostface song. That wasn't his song.
Right.
He was on the song, or whatever the case may be, but it wasn't his song or his idea to run with to say it was his song. So people had called me up when that came on the Hulu, and they heard it was No More Mr. Nice Guy. They could have sworn that they was going to hear Pop the Brown Hornet, and when they didn't, family members and such was like, oh shit, yo, they just played No More Mr. Nice Guy, you wasn't on it, they changed up the beat, blah, blah, blah. Yo, that's fucked up. And I was just like, yo, this is probably just more like, that's why I didn't tune in it, because like I said, I know it's probably riddled. It probably has a little bit of truth to it, but it's riddled with a few lies for Hollywood.
Right.
So, like I said, when that song, when that part of the series came out with the No More Mr. Nice Guy, because everybody from Staten Island that knows the original No More Mr. Nice Guy can't have it without the Brown Hornet. And like I said, that wasn't a Ghostface solo song. So for him to put it in that series saying it was a rebuttal song to Method Man's song dissing Stapleton, like the No More Mr. Nice Guy was supposed to be a rebuttal song dissing Paul Kill, that's a bold-faced lie. That's not true.
Did you ever speak to like any of the members and stuff or anything about that, or like how that misconception came about?
To be honest with you, I don't bump into those to the members. The Wu's doing what they're doing. They got 25 years in the game, so they're bouncing around. They're doing tours. They're doing this, that, and the third. They don't really elaborate with me, but trust and believe when I tell you that No More Mr. Nice Guy. And even if you check my Underground Emperor album, one of the songs on my album was called No More Mr. Nice Guy. And that's the
yeah, I saw that.
Yeah. And so, but that's not the original. The original song was with Down Low Record, Ghostface. At that time, Ghostface wasn't named Ghostface. He was called Sun God, and myself. And that's who did the original No More Mr. Nice Guy. But it was a song that was really put together by R&S. And it was more of a Brown Hornet song. Because I was the one that ended it. I was the one that really came up with the idea. But Ghost had came into town, and it was like we hadn't seen Sun God or Ghostface at the time. We was calling him Sun God. We hadn't seen him in a while. He came through. He was like, "Oh shit, yo, we was working on something up in the studio. Yo, why don't you get on it?" He was like, "Yo, what is it?" He said, "Yo, no more Mr. Nice Guy." He was like, all right, I got something for that," and he got on the song. So for him to get on the Hulu and say it was his rebuttal song to the diss that Method Man made about Stapleton as a bold-faced lie, and to be actually to be truthful with you, when he did the No More Mr. Nice Guy, the Wu-Tang Clan was already being formed. You know what I mean? So it was never a rebuttal song to Method Man's song to Stapleton, because when we made that song, it was, like I said, the clan was in the process of being put together. So he would have never made a song dissing Paul Kill, because he was already harmonizing with Paul Kill kids to make the Wu-Tang Clan.
For sure. You like, you know what I mean, and stuff, everything you talked about, like not speaking to them, like, you know what I mean, and stuff, everything, but like being in the very origins, like, of the group, like, you know, when did that relationship like fall apart? Where, because I know, like, you know what I mean, and stuff, everything, like people get, you know, like, you know, larger in the game and stuff, everything, and you know, like they're busy and stuff, everything, but like, you know, somebody who's there from the beginning and so instrumental of a part of starting the Wu-Tang.
Well, you got to be with this, and this is how it comes, and this is how it goes. All right. So the seed was planted in Stapleton, right? So after the seed being planted in Stapleton, and Ghost was part of, Ghost was more or less the forefather, the founder of Wu-Tang, the movement. You know what I mean? He was one of the first people really to say it in a rhyme, and then people from Stapleton started saying it. But really, myself, I piggybacked off of it. So what happened was, you know, Ghostface had a rough time growing up in Stapleton. It wasn't sweet for him. And like I said, at the end of the day, I love the shit out of Ghostface. But Ghostface had to make a move, and he had made the move with the RZA, the Prince Rakeem, and they did what they did, or whatever the case may be. And then during that time, I gather they came together, and Ghost was like, "Yo, we might as well just do this Wu-Tang shit." So RZA took it. So, and they made RZA the head. So when RZA became the head, and he went to Paul Kill, and he got the Method Mans, and he got the Raekwons of the world, or whatever, and got them to believe into the Wu-Tang Clan movement and sign. Once they signed their name, you know what I mean? It was like, well, whoever don't sign and shit, then fuck them. We just gonna leave them behind. So since I didn't sign, it was like, yo, fuck him. Let him do his own thing. Let him get his own shit. So that was more or less the beginning of the departure of saying, yo, you know, y'all doing what y'all doing with that Wu thing, I'm gonna do my own thing. I always, like I said, when we came with the GP Wu, it wasn't like they could ever deny us, or especially not deny me, ever using the Wu-Tang, because like I said, I was down with the Wu-Tang movement before the Raekwons, the Method Man, the Inspector Dex, the U-Guards. They was down with a crew called DMD that was Dick 'em Down up in Park Hill. Then they got down with the Wu-Tang movement when RZA gave them the contracts that they signed. You know what I mean? And then it became more personal, like, nah, if you don't sign, then you ain't down with the movement. So since I didn't sign, they kind of blackballed me out of the movement, and they did their own thing. If you can follow where I'm coming from.
Yeah, no, I understand that, man. Like, you know, did you like, you know what I mean, ever like regret, like, you know what I mean, and stuff, everything?
Never, never. Listen, never. Like Frank Sinatra said, man, I'd rather do it my way. It's not about like when people sell their soul, or when they sell their craft, or whatever the case may be. Certain people make certain moves that they have to live a better life. I'm happy that they were successful. I know they touched millions of dollars. We got Wu Wednesday. It's a global name, or whatever the case may be. But I have no regrets. Like I said, I was signed to MCA. I was signed. I had singles. I got Black on Black Crime. I still make music today. You know what I mean? I'm my own man. I didn't have to get down with a whole group of individuals to rectify who I am, and have my own place in Staten Island history. I didn't have to do that. Those brothers had to. I don't know how many of the Wu-Tang members, if they would have went solo, would have had solo careers if they didn't get down with the Wu-Tang Clan. You understand what I'm saying? And so I'm in existence without even having to get down with the clan like that, but I'm still relevant and especially in Staten Island history and moving forward. I'm still, like I said, I just dropped Foreman Mandela, whether it's on the independent movement or not. I'm still proud of what I do, and I'm still liked by my peers for making real music and staying true to who I am. I didn't have to sell I didn't have to sell all my publishing to some individual who I didn't feel was justifiably I I just didn't feel like I had to give my publishing to an individual just to make it or whatever the case may be. That's something that I'll give to my kids and they'll get the publishing or my grandkids. I didn't think I had to break off anybody just to make it or whatever the case may be. Other people use different tactics, but in all honesty, nah, there's no regrets whatsoever. I'm happy in the skin that I'm in.
Definitely, man. And that I tell everybody to check out that Foreman Mandela. I was listening to it before you got on the Zoom, man, and that's hard, bro. And stuff, everything. So what's next for Pop the Brown Hornet?
Well, I'm gonna tell you that's all in the high powers. That's all in the high powers' hands. He gave me the strength to still be here today. You know what I mean? Like I said, I was on a big hiatus, but the high power, the social media, everything is so much different now that I don't think I can be blocked like I was being blocked back in the days. So that's why the best of both worlds, the Emperor and the King, came out with King Just. All 2019 is going to be Foreman Mandela. There's a lot of people that still don't know about it, so I still got to push, push, push. I plan on. I already got the thought and concept for the next album that's going to come out, or whatever the case may be. It's just about putting and placing it together. So hopefully I can pull R&S out of the woodworks and have them work on work on the next album, as well as hopefully Phantom of the Beat. And like I said, on the Foreman Mandela. Majority of that's produced by Phantom of the Beat, aka Haj G from the UMCs. So it's still, like I said, I'm still getting respect from my peers. Once individuals found out that I was back in the game, we got to do something because they know my loyalty and my love for the craft will never fade. Like you said, you was listening to the Full Mandela. It's hard. It's traditional classical hip hop. I'm a wordsmith. I know how to put words together. I know how to tell. I know how to put titles to songs and make sense. So, like I said, I never really had to sell my soul or sell myself or sell my craft and my art to get on. Uh, what's meant for me is meant for me. Nobody's going to be able to take that away. And it doesn't have to come with the fame or whatever the case may be. You know what I mean? What's meant for me is meant for me. And no matter how the bag might not be as big as their bag, but as long as I get like I was once told by some wise people, you know what I mean? Life is a marathon. So it's not who crosses the line first, it's as long as you cross that finish line. And that's what the Brown Hornet plans on doing.
Most definitely. You mentioned selling your soul. Do you think like you're meaning some everything that's something that really goes on like in the music industry, or is that more like a
Without a shadow of a doubt. Without a shadow of a doubt. I mean, I think in order for people to get to a certain plateau or whatever, certain people might have to give into certain things to certain individuals, you know. Um, and some people want to do that. Some people are content with whatever level of success they reach, and they say, you know what, I could be content with this because if you give me that, then I can make that work over here and do X, Y, Z. So it's always about having a plan. Some people want to be some super, 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 super duper star, and yeah, you're gonna have to give a little in order to get that. You know what I mean? There's gonna be people that's gonna open the door and say, well, if you want that, then you gotta give me this, and I'm sure it's true. I mean, you hear so many stories about it, and I'm sure some people have bit that bullet to say, you know what, I don't ever want this to go away. I must be embedded into XYZ. So they probably made a pact with whomever in order to get that kind of fame. I don't think you reach a certain plateau without having to cross certain bridges.
and we'll leave it like that, man. Thank you so much for your time, Pop the Brown Hornet. You know,
Pop the Brown Hornet. New album, Foreman Mandela, on all digital platforms. Add me to your playlist. If you love traditional classical hip hop, yo, follow me on Instagram, Pop the Brown Bomber. Um, Follow me on Facebook, Pop the Brown Hornet, as well as Twitter. If you want to get at me on Instagram, Pop the Brown Bomber. I'll get back at with you. Yeah, I want to thank Ryan Glover for having me on your show. I appreciate the love, my brother.
Most definitely, anytime.